Compliance is non-negotiable.
And with the surge in financial crimes in Sri Lanka today, compliance is the order of the day. On LMD Podcast, we have Ravi de Silva, founder and CEO of De-Risk Partners, and Vishwanath Pai, CEO of Ascent Business Solutions, coming together to talk about the partnership they formed to create Sri Lanka's first compliance-led center of excellence. Welcome to the both of you.
Okay, these days, Sri Lanka's financial integrity has been put under the microscope. I mean, the situation is very severe, and I'm sure the consequences are much more dire than what we are seeing. But I like to think that all is not doom and gloom, that Sri Lanka has what it takes to not just be compliant, but also to set a benchmark of what compliance should look like, how it should work. And I think you are one of the best people to talk about this. So can we start off with you, Ravi, giving us an introduction to yourself and your company De-Risk and how compliance fit into all of this?
Sure, and thank you for having me. So I'm actually born and raised in Sri Lanka, went to Royal College, had my education in Australia, and then moved to the US, now living in Switzerland. But while I was moving around, I worked for my last bank was Citigroup.
Right.
I was the global financial crimes head and data analytics head. And 2 years ago, in 2024 of March, we saw sort of a gap in the market. We used to hire a lot of the big four companies to come help the large banks when we were fixing the issues. And then we realized that some of the fintechs and the crypto exchanges that are coming up and the smaller banks, the credit unions in the US, can't afford that enterprise-grade compliance. So we have that enterprise-grade compliance knowledge coming from Citigroup, JP Morgan Chase, Goldman, Barclays, and we were able to bring that knowledge to the mid-tier, the smaller banks, and the fintechs of the world. And we do that with we wanted to do that with technology, driven with AI, and also with the talent pool that maybe some other people cannot sort of access. So, and that's how we sort of built De-Risk Partners and then De-Risk Swiss in Switzerland. We are in Switzerland by invitation from the Swiss government to help the crypto valley of Europe. Switzerland is called the crypto valley of Europe, and we support crypto exchanges and digital asset-based organizations coming into Switzerland in setting that business up, and then from there taking them to even the US market and beyond.
That's an amazing story for 2 years, and I'm so glad that you guys are coming into Sri Lanka now. But firstly, I want to ask you, can you give us an introduction to you, what you do, and also about Ascent? Because we have a lot of information about Ascent. We hear things about how the connection with Brandix happens, and then Accenture. I want you to clear the waters for us.
Yeah, of course. So just a bit about me. I used to work for Accenture as a managing director. I worked with Accenture for 20 odd years. And then I am now the Chief Executive Officer for Ascent. Ascent is a services company. It's a spin-off of Accenture before it decided to kind of exit in 2024. And after that, we were rebranded into Ascent. Again, it's a Brandix company, but operates independently. It's a services company which takes some of your processes, transforms it, gives you output in terms of cost efficiency, improvement in output. Like, for example, if you have a payment process, right, and there are 20 people that are doing it, we can do it in 10, right? And then if your on-time payment is like let's say 90%, we can bring it to 95%, which means vendors are going to be happier. You will not have any business disruption, things like that. And again, artificial intelligence is the in thing now, right? So we have a lot of capability on AI. We have partnered with a platform called Automation Anywhere. It's the publicly ranked #1 engine, and we are the sole partner for them in Sri Lanka.
Oh, lovely. And I'm trying to ascertain the scope of your operations in terms of your market, can you give us some info?
Yeah, of course. So, see, again, it's very interesting, and I'll give some numbers which might really surprise a lot of people. In terms of the market size, outsourcing market in itself, when I say outsourcing, it can be consulting, it can be technology, it can be process. All of that is a $1 trillion market today, right? As of 2026. It grows in the range of 9 to 11% every year, right? And in addition to that, there is something called as GCC, which is Global Capability Center. These are captive centers which are set up in countries like India, which is the largest GCC center or location. GCC is also around $600 billion industry today, right? So India does almost 31% of the total market share. Now, it has the scale people, of course, right? But also the talent. So the market is huge, right? And I think Sri Lanka is very competitively set up in a terms of price point,
Right.
in terms of talent, right? And we still haven't scratched the surface.
And
Ravi, I'll turn to you now.
you would have seen that Sri Lanka has been suffering under, so many financial frauds, crimes, you name it. Can I have your assessment of the situation regarding financial crimes and, more importantly, our defenses?
Yeah. So I think Sri Lanka in general has a financial crimes framework that was designed for traditional banking. It has not been updated yet. It's still not that it's not there. It's there, right? And the Sri Lankan banks have followed AML, fraud standards, etc. But I think not just in Sri Lanka, but in a lot of other places, compliance is seen as a burden and something that afterthought. So I think Sri Lanka has that foundation, but I think it's time for a refresher.
Yes.
Because the traditional banking world is moving into more of digital banking. Sri Lanka does not have a cryptocurrency related regulation, so none of the digital asset based organizations can function here because there's no regulation. You can function, but there's no regulation to sort of regulate them, right? So if the regulations are really, open but regulated, there's a chance that a lot of these fintechs and crypto exchanges want to come do business in Sri Lanka. So you can create that environment and the ecosystem, and I think it's an opportunity for Sri Lanka to do that while updating their AML regulations as well, and then creating new crypto and digital asset-based regulations.
I might sound like the devil's advocate here,
Yeah.
but do you think we are late? Because on one hand, we have, we are moving into the digital economy.
Yeah.
That is, one of the big goals for the country. And on the other hand, we are really suffering under all these crimes that are taxing not only the country, but its citizens. So how late are we?
I think maybe we are a little late.
Little late. Okay.
But I think the volume is just enough that we can now start building this up before it gets out of control, right? If you can have crypto crime and scams happen even if you don't have regulations here. If there's a way to move money, they will move money. Whether you have regulation or not, they're not going to wait for it. So I think it's the right time. This is all signaling the government and everyone else that this is where we need to go, and we should work on that.
It's definitely the right time.
It is definitely the right time, yes.
Ravi, we were talking about how you're based in the US and in Switzerland, and now you are coming to Sri Lanka in partnership with Ascent Business Solutions. And from what we hear, you guys are partnering to set up Sri Lanka's first compliance-led center of excellence.
Right.
That sounds super interesting. Can you just give us a glimpse of what it is about?
Sure. So it's a first digital asset-based compliance or cryptocurrency compliance service excellence center in Sri Lanka. What that means is, I think I touched on this before. we wanted to serve the mid-tier organizations and the startup fintechs and crypto exchanges across the globe.
Yeah.
And we have the enterprise grade knowledge that we bring in with our partners, but we also wanted to deliver it at an affordable range, but with quality. And that's where the Swiss quality comes into play, right? And I'm born and raised here. That's one of the reasons I wanted to mention that. And I knew growing up here that Sri Lanka had that capability. I mean, if you look around, you find students with like multiple degrees, so you can find all talent that you need here. It's just a matter of the education. So what we decided, what we are working with Ascent is that Ascent has the infrastructure.
Yes.
They have the capability, the reach to reach into the Sri Lankan talent pool. And we've come together so that we can transfer the knowledge, the enterprise grade knowledge that we have to the Sri Lankan market, and then support our clients globally
Yes.
in Sri Lanka. And definitely, I mean, we are getting value mainly because of the exchange rates and the quality of the students, right? Quality of the candidates. I mean, you cannot find the candidates that you can find here. I might sound biased, but I've worked across the globe and I've seen and I've hired across the globe. And anyone who's watching this hearing this from the US, no offense to you guys, but I mean, it's plenty. These candidates here are making decisions on behalf of our clients, whether a transaction is a scam, whether a transaction is a suspicious activity or not.
Yeah.
That decision is being made by our staff here in Sri Lanka. So I think Ascent was the best way to go. They have had a huge background with the Brandix organization, and it's coming out of that legacy. So I think they were the best partner that we could.
Yeah. So Ravi and me are kind of, we know each other from the past. So we and Ravi had set up de-risk and, entire compliance setup, right? But once you do the assessment for mitigation, you still need people on the ground, right? So that is where we came into the picture, Ensure and Ravi being a Sri Lankan, it kind of helped. Obviously, he wanted to kind of do something back for the country. And obviously, he was aware of the, immense talent that's available. So what we did was we kind of entered into a partnership where they would kind of provide us with training, and then we will ensure that we are able to bring in the best of that training back to the customers that they are serving, right? Because it's the entire ecosystem. Once you do the assessment and you give a report, you still need somebody on the ground to do these activities to ensure that the risk is mitigated.
And Ascent has the experience.
Ascent has the experience, and Ascent is continuing to build that experience, right? We want to be, now when you look at AML, you look at terrorist financing and, compliance, there is a lot of requirements that's going to occur, especially in countries like UAE,
Right.
Western countries, because crypto is now becoming a mainstream currency. And the entire benefit and to some extent also the risk of crypto is it's not very visible and traceable,
Yes.
right? So with Ascent, we can kind of, based on the frameworks that have been set up, we can kind of look at the risks. We can ensure that we can go back to what's the origin of the transaction, who is using it, what are the anomalies that we can detect, and then kind of, based on the structure that Ravi and team kind of build, we can ensure that that process is followed on the ground, right? Which is a transactional layer of that compliance, right? So that is what we are trained on, and that is what we are trying to build through the Center of Excellence.
Now, what will the Center of Excellence, the first compliance-led Center of Excellence in Sri Lanka that Ascent and de-risk is going to bring, what is this going to give us?
Yeah. So one thing is we've started with training our people and creating a foundation of expertise in these certification, in the way these assessments are done, and the way these compliance are enforced, right? That based on the systems, based on there is some bit of variation that would occur, and we are kind of training our staff and employees on this specific area, right?
Right.
The second part, once we get through the foundation, the second part will be how do we embed technology to be much more effective, right? Uh, I believe we are in the era of intelligence,
Yes.
right? And when we say era of intelligence, intelligence is now getting democratized, right? Anybody who has a chat GBT, who has access to Gemini or access to Claude, are they are more intelligent than somebody that doesn't have access to it, right? They know more today, right? So intelligence is getting democratized, and with that there will be risk and there will be benefit.
Yes.
Right? There's always going to be some bit of trade-off, but I feel eventually AI will be augmented in the way we operate, right? And which is where we want to get ahead of the curve and ensure that our employees are trained on how to use technology
Right.
to be more effective. So all of that will entail into the center of excellence, and that is where we have made a lot of investment in terms of partnership with AI platforms, ensuring that we are investing a lot in training our people. So that is a simultaneous exercise that we are doing to build over the expertise of the process.
Compliance is a no-brainer, and Sri Lanka needs to step up to it. That's what we've established today. Stay tuned for the next edition of this podcast, where we'll be talking about why Sri Lanka and Colombo was picked to create Sri Lanka's first compliance-led center of excellence. Stay tuned. Stay tuned for more chat on LMD Podcast.